Deebo Samuel it's very, in my opinion, interesting that the 49ers offense, they had 452 yards. They scored 38 points. And Deebo Samuel the next day tweets out. And he has two tweets. The first of one, he had some time to think about this too. He says, not struggling at all, just not getting the ball. And then about 8 explanation points and one of the shrugging emojis. So Debo's saying that he's not having a down year or multiple years. He didn't have a down game or a down year or down multiple years. He's just not getting targeted. Well, the problem with that is that has the second most targets in on the 49ers right now. And by the way, he would have the second most catches if he actually caught the ball when he was targeted. His issue is when he's getting the ball, he literally doesn't catch it. And also, he can't run a route to save his life, so he's not getting open. So even if he's first in the progression, Brock has to move on from him and then, throw a dump off pass to Isaac Garendo because Deebo can't get himself open against man coverage. And this coming from a former Deebo Samuel was my favorite player, but we got to be honest. Deebo has not been Deebo Samuel of 2021 in years. Him in the running game has literally not worked in 4 years. That's an awful, do not give him carries anymore, Kyle Shanahan. Sometimes every once in a while he can break off a pass, get a catch as a wide receiver, but he can't break tackles. The only times he got targeted yesterday, he literally ran right into defenders. Before, he was like, he'd miss guys, he'd break, there'd be like 7 guys trying to bring Deebo Samuel down. Like, I feel like he was one of those guys who could take over games. And now Deebo's saying he's not struggling, he's not getting the ball. Well, not only is he getting carries as a running back. Not only is he getting targets as a wide receiver, but he's also back there at kick returner. Or punt returner. So he's getting the ball in literally every opportunity. Like, there is not a phase of this game that Kyle is not trying to force feed Deebo Samuel the ball. And by the way, all year, when they've been giving Deebo, and by the way, the Super Bowl, where they, I think, gave Deebo something like 11, maybe he got 11. Did he get 11 target or not 11, 13? Excuse me, 13 targets. I think if they would have split those ones up, gave more of them to JJ, more of them to Kittle, I think they would have won that Super Bowl. Not to mention if they would have broken up the running back and given Jordan Mason the ball some more in the rushing game. But this boggles my mind because Deebo Samuel has no room to have an ego for this team. Kyle has gone out of his way when everyone has been like, stop giving Deebo the ball. It clearly is not working. Defenses are queuing in on him. He cannot get open. Even when he's getting schemed open, he's not getting open. When you give him the ball, he can't. He's getting pushed back at the line of scrimmage. Like, there was a stat earlier this year where he was averaging a negative 1 yards a game in the rushing game. Right now, I have it written down. The 49ers have given Deebo Samuel 32 carries. He's averaging 2.9 yards per carry, so less than 3 yards a carry. There's only 4 players with 30 carries and less than 3 yards this season. That's Trey Sermon, the wide receiver the 49ers drafted and then immediately got rid of, even though they spent a 3rd-round pick on him because that's how bad he was. Trey Sermon, Zamir White, uh, Rayshon Johnson for the Bears, and then Deebo Samuel. So he's in horrible company. Like, he is with third stringers who aren't getting their opportunities, aren't getting the ball, except for Deebo is getting force fed the ball, and he still can't make anything with that. Like, it is very frustrating to hear Deebo say that the reason he's not, making anything. Deebo Samuel has 11 catches for only 85 yards. George Kittle had 6 catches for 152 yards the other day. Like, less than half of that for double the yards. 6 carries for 12. Yeah, so in the last 4 games, Deebo has 11 catches for 85 yards and then 6 carries for 12 yards. Like, Deebo, you're struggling because you're not making anything out of your opportunity. And you would get even more opportunity if you actually could run a route or could carry a ball without immediately getting stopped. And I think that the only reason the 49ers actually saw success yesterday is because not three, not four, not two, but seven different, not six, seven different guys on offense touched the football. The 49ers spread the football around. They targeted the hell out of George Kittle, who was having an excellent season. They targeted the hell out of Jawan Jennings, who the 49ers got to kiss their lucky stars that they have him locked up for one more year. And Isaac Rendo was, a diamond in the rough that we didn't know about. That's why they won yesterday. If they would have given those targets to Deebo Samuel, they wouldn't have won, as we saw, because the only time that the offense halted in the first half was when they gave Deebo Samuel the ball. Maybe as kick returner, he's done okay, but that's about it. Just a very, very frustrating in my opinion. Deebo's a team captain, and for him to, after a win, make this about him when he has a podcast and after all these embarrassing, I mean, 25-point losses or more than 25-point losses, he went on his podcast and said, oh, we're a team. We could turn it on when we want. Oh, we don't have to win the Buffalo game. That doesn't matter. Like, talking so arrogant, thinks that, like, stop trying to make 2019, 2021 happen, Deebo. Like, you're not that team anymore. You're also not that player anymore. I don't know. To me, it sucks because this is the first year that he was actually voted, captain. And I think of like old Deebo Samuel, who I have an affinity for. And it's just really disappointing that they finally are getting their team together. They have a win, and Deebo uses that opportunity to make it about himself. He also tweeted out, I want to read it exactly for you guys, really quickly before I do this. So his targets and carries in the last 5 games. Versus the Bears, he had 3 targets, 5 carries. Versus the Bills, he had 5 targets, 0 carries. Versus the Packers, he had 4 targets. Versus the Seahawks, he had 7 targets, 1 carry. They lost that game, by the way. Versus the Buccaneers, he had 6 targets, 3 carries. In my opinion, when I look at this, I go, oh, the more you target Deebo Samuel, the worse you're doing. The less that they target him, the better they did in those games. Which is a far cry, by the way. There used to be a stat that when Deebo didn't play, the 49ers lost. Like, he used to be very important to this team. And if that Deebo wants to make a resurgence, I'm all for it. But right now, I see a guy who catches, a 2-yard pass because he can't get open if he's on the field, and then immediately gets hit, and the 49ers go 3 and out. I'm sorry. Like, if this hurts Deebo Samuel, I would love it. He's always played really good against the Rams. I would love to be wrong. I'd love it if, you know, on Thursday he comes out and he puts on that Philadelphia type performance against the Rams and makes everyone eat their words. And, maybe he saw that George Kittle spoke up to the media about not getting targeted, and then Kyle Shanahan fed the shit out of him. And maybe Deebo Samuel thinks that's, what he's going to do. And now, because of these tweets, Kyle's going to force feed him the ball. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that they stick with targeting George Kittle, stick with targeting Jawan Jennings. If Isaac Rendo can play doing those dump off passes to the running backs, I love that. I think it's a good trick for defenses because they see Isaac Rendo, they think it's going to be a run, and then you can check it into a pass and dump it off to him. And if every once in a while they can get Deebo involved and he makes something out of it, and if they start getting the ball and he's on fire and he's breaking tackles, then yeah, adjust your game plan during the game and start giving him, feeding him the ball if he's the hot hand. But right now, we haven't seen Deebo Samuel get hot. That is not existent. A hot Deebo Samuel has not showed itself in like 2 years. Literally, I think when they had that rematch against Philadelphia was the last time that Deebo Samuel has actually had a good game. That was multiple seasons ago. So, Deebo Samuel agreed or not agreed. After he made his tweet saying that he's not struggling, he's just not getting the ball, a bunch of people were saying, hey, this is a bad look because Jawan Jennings and Kittle and your teammates are finally doing good, and it feels like you're making this win about you. In response, he said, you know, and N-word with good hearts got the worst tempers and retweeted that, and then did a tweet of his own saying, just because I voice my opinions don't mean I'm hating on any of my teammates. Explanation point, be for real. So basically saying, just because I'm talking about how I'm not getting targets doesn't mean I'm criticizing, Brock for not getting me the ball, or Jawan Jennings for getting targets, or George Kittle. But it's like, yeah, maybe you're not criticizing your teammates, but you're taking the attention away from them. Like, they just had all-star performances. How many games has George Kittle shut the fuck up and blocked for Deebo Samuel to have a star game? And then when Kittle's asked about it after the game, all Kittle talks about is how great Deebo is. We haven't heard Kittle complain about his target share for like 6 years. Literally last week was the first time that we've heard Kittle talk about it. And I literally don't think he would have said anything if the 49ers were winning. I think he was just like, "Oh, we're losing and I'm not getting targeted. Okay, give me the ball. Like, I'm going to do something." But if they were winning, I think Kittle has shown he's been a very, very selfless player. I think he could have the career that Kelsey has if he was less of a selfless player and demanding the football more. But he's been, very okay with kind of fading in the background and letting these new stars take over. Now, this year, these stars aren't doing anything. So Kittle's like, okay, well, give me my opportunity because at least I'll do something about it then. So those are Deebo Samuel's tweets. Really quickly, I'm going to look in the chat and see what people have to say because it was a bit ridiculous. Someone says Purdy is flaky. Purdy just had an incredible performance. Now, I mean, it was the Bears, so everything about yesterday needs to be prefaced with it was the Bears, and I think the one thing that the Bears were doing semi well was defense, and then they fired their defensive head coach. I wrongfully thought maybe they'd have that like interim coach boost that some bad teams they'll fire their head coach and then for 1 week they'll do good, but I failed to think about the fact that Matt Eberflus was actually the defensive guy, and without him, their defense crumbled, as we can tell, because the 49ers scored 38. Now, their offense didn't look good either, but there's that. So if he's not criticizing players and he's not criticizing Kyle, then who the hell is he criticizing? This is a great point from Papa J, just kind of pointing out the hypocrisy of Deebo Samuel. Obviously, being upset enough, once again, ridiculous that he's upset after a win, but being upset enough to make a tweet and then getting backlash and then immediately being like, well, why are you guys mad at me? I didn't say anything wrong. And it's like, okay, whatever. I don't know. I just don't take Deebo Samuel seriously this season. He, like I said, after that Packers loss, was on his podcast talking about the 49ers were the best team in the league. Like, you need some humble pie. You need some reality. He also was like talking about who the best wide receivers and the best running backs were. And like, he was not in that conversation. I was like, isn't that a bit humiliating? Like, I feel like when players like Fred Warner has a podcast, and when he talks about the best linebackers in the NFL, he goes, well, obviously me. And then he talks about the other guys. But Deebo's had such a bad year that he literally couldn't bring himself up. So it's like, Deebo, you're having a bad year. You don't even, on your own platform, you don't try to act like you're the best. I don't know. Hugo says, take Juice out and just use 11 personnel. I think that they barely play Juice right now. They put him in a little bit at the end of last week's game after Isaac Renda went out, but I think that that's just because they didn't have enough running backs up. Exclude Brock, Kittle, JJ out of my comments. Okay, what comment? I think the best team in the NFC West has been sitting on the 49ers bench all season long. The reason that we won was because Kyle was forced to use backups who are better for the most part than our starters, in my opinion. I mean, Hafungo was injured, but I agree he's definitely better than Brown. I think Ben Barch has been, it sucks because now he's injured, but I think he's played much better than Aaron Banks. Jalen Morris subbed in decently for Trent Williams. I agree that they should have used Isaac Rendo a lot more earlier. Some of that is just like lack of creativity. I don't know why. Like, I think that the best running back group that the 49ers could have ever had is the mix of Christian McCaffrey, who can do incredible things as a runner, but also in the passing game. Isaac Rendo, who also can be utilized in the passing game because he used to be a wide receiver, but he can get really hot if you give him like an outside and deep run or deep run. He can like go for like 75 yards. And then you have Jordan Mason, who can be your bruiser. The 49ers don't have a bruiser right now, like an every down 20, carry guy who's just going to get hit after hit after hit and still get positive yardage. If they could have utilized all three of them in tandem, I think that would have been beautiful. I don't know why that didn't happen. Makes me a little bit angry at Kyle Shanahan seemingly unable to be creative until he was forced to be. I would hope that the genius play caller could have came up with that on his own. Feels like he really wanted to win a certain way, and then their playoff chances almost went out the window. So he said, "Fine, I'll just start doing play action and screen passes and dump off passes, like everyone's been telling me to do all year long." And look, it worked. Kevin Allen says 6 targets, 6 catches, 150 plus for my boy Kittle. That's what I'm saying. Deebo, you got 11 targets. You didn't break 80 yards with that. You can't complain. What are you doing? So frustrating. I thought this comment was good. Arrogance had daylight a few times yesterday, ran right into the defender. 19 targets has resulted in just 85 yards for him in the past 4 games. Not sure what the point is of this tweet. The team is finally moving in the right direction. You're a team captain. Why go out and say this? Just seems like it's distracting from positive momentum. These are all excellent. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's just like shows that Deebo is inherently acting out of selfless or acting very selfishly right now, which is annoying. Someone saying he's making 74 billion. So he's not making that much, but he is making 26 million. So it's like, Deebo, you suck and you're getting a payday. Shut up. That seems bad to say because I think players should be able to talk. I'm not pro shut up and dribble, but it's like if you're playing bad, just and you're making $26 million, like just be happy about it and play better if you want more targets. Like do something with the targets that you do or that you do get. Manteo. Someone said the pronunciation is man Teo. Mantateo? I'll try. I'll learn it and then I'll be very professional on my next stream and I'll tell you guys what it is. Lack of maturity. I agree. Deebo is not in the mood since somebody confiscated his boombox. What do you guys think about the boombox? I think the boombox needs to stop. They did. They walked out with the boombox on Sunday. There was pictures of it on RSF 49ers on the 49ers Instagram page themselves. So they still have the boombox. I think what's really embarrassing is they walked out with the boombox going into that Buffalo Bills game. They walked out with the boombox going into the Packers game. And I think back to Cleveland last year. If you guys remember that game, Cleveland actually mimicked the 49ers and they did the same walkout that the 49ers have been known to do for years now, which is they have the boombox guy and then they have Trent and Deebo dancing and coming out. And for a while I thought it was really cool. Like when you're winning, 12, 10 games in a row, 8 games in a row, it's cool to walk out and be like, yeah, we're big bad bullies. But that's honestly not the 49ers. That's not who they are this year. They're not bullies. They're not, dominating their opponents. And last year, after they got mimicked, or after their boombox entrance got mimicked, if you remember, it was Deebo Samuel, Ayuk, and Trent Williams, and they started a fight pregame with some Cleveland players. There was punches that were thrown, and then the 49ers got their ass handed to them that game. And I just feel like moving forward, like there are young guys and there's rookies on this team that I think you should have new traditions each year. Like the boombox to me is a relic of last year and how good they did, but then ultimately losing the Super Bowl. So why are you carrying on that tradition? I think each year you should make new traditions with your new players. So it's not just like you're, trying to make 2019 happen. Like I feel like they've been on like revenge tour since they lost the first Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, and they just keep, trying to keep the same guys together, calling the same offensive plays, doing the same walkout with the same boombox, with the same guys leading it for, over 4 years now. And it's like, no, do something different. Like mix it up and make a team out of the new guys that you have. And that's gonna lead me to the last thing that I want to talk about. um, there was a meeting, team meeting. There was a meeting before the Bears game, and Kyle Shanahan asked both Brock Purdy and Deommodore Lenoir to talk to the team. And why I think that's interesting is in previous seasons, the people who have talked to the team, and I'm not saying they haven't. I think both of these guys have talked to the team this year, but it was Nick Bosa, it was George Kittle, and it was Fred Warner. So older veteran players who have been on this roster for a long time. Finally, this week, Kyle wanted to switch it up, and I think he's thinking about, Malika Mustafa. He's thinking about Renardo Green. Like these guys relate more to Deommodore Lenoir and Brock Purdy because those guys are more their age. Like the core of this team, the core veteran players are kind of aging out, and this team is trying to transition. And unfortunately, they never created an identity for themselves, and that's why I think, doing the boombox thing that was a tradition of a previous team, a previous generation of players. Like that was a team that had Jimmy Ward on it. That was a team that had Eric Armstead on it. That, I think you should be evolving and making sure that your young guys and your rookies feel like they are a part of the team and they want to play for you, the 49ers, and we are all brothers. We're one. It's not like two separate teams where it's the guys who are getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars and have been on, this team and witnessed all these devastating losses, and then the young guys. Instead, Brock Purdy up, who knows if he will get, but he's in line to get paid huge money and be the franchise quarterback of this organization. And then Deommodore Lenoir, who just got paid and is going to be, the one corner to go for this organization for the next 4 or 5 years. I think it was meaningful that those were the two guys that talked. And Malik Mustafa talked after the game, said how much it meant to hear those guys playing or those guys speak, and he felt like their message really resonated. George Kittle kind of said in previous years when they would go through, one or two losses, they'd have someone talk, and there was really this desperation, and they played with this like urgency to win. And this, he said, even after both the Packers game and the Bears game, horrible losses, and that Seahawks loss, like horrible losses, he said that he didn't feel urgency from the team. And I think a lot of these guys aren't hungry. They've gotten paid. They're lethargic. They're kind of lazy. They're tired because they've played so many extra games. And I think it's so imperative to speak to the younger guys who are gonna bring the energy, the enthusiasm, and actually gonna play no matter what till the end of the game and not kind of give up because they've just decided this season is, they're already writing off the season, which we've seen some of the older guys kind of playing like that. Um, I was really excited that Kyle turned and tried to kind of instilled confidence in Lenore and Purdy. Where it's kind of bittersweet is like, why the fuck did this happen now? Why didn't you do this weeks ago? Why are you still doing the boombox trend? Like I wish this off season is when this transition happened, when they started creating a brotherhood and an identity with these, a unity with this core instead of continuing to try to like tape together an old core and then just having these young guys kind of scattered around but feel not involved. So I don't know. On both sides, like I said, Kittle talked about it and he talked about how he finally felt the urgency at the Bears game. And it was like, well, this makes me happy because I'm glad you guys won this week and you finally feel it. But it's also terrifying that you're admitting that it's week 14. Your chances of making the playoffs are pretty much doomed. Like you're not in control of your own destiny. Even if you win out, it's still like only a 53% chance that they make it. Um, and you waited until now to turn on the urgency. Like that goes to me. I'm critical of Kyle Shanahan. Like, how do you not have a pulse on the emotion of this team? Why is George Kittle the one that's coming out and saying, "Hey, the urgency, the enthusiasm, the will to fight no matter what"? I haven't felt it. Previous years, I felt it. When we were doing bad, you could feel the desperation. This year, we didn't feel it until the Bears game. Kind of embarrassing to admit, but apparently it's turned around. Is it just the Bears or is it an actual shift in culture and mindset? I guess we're going to see against the Rams on Thursday. That's the next opportunity for the 49ers to show that, it wasn't just a one off and it wasn't just because they were playing the Bears who just fired their head coach. Hi, Mr. Corey says, Deebo has become a clown. He's gone in 2025. I would agree, although Matt Mayoko did tweet out before the Bears game that there was like a report that, don't assume Deebo Samuel will be gone. It's more likely than not that he's going to stay with the 49ers. I don't know. They did like restructure his contract. So even if they cut him, they're going to have a dead cap for him next year. But I think whatever money they do save is worth it. And at this point, if you could get anything for Deebo, and I don't know what you could get for him, let me know in the comments. Like, you're not getting a third round pick, you're not getting a fourth round. I don't know what you're getting, especially with his contract. It might just be, for nothing, but just at least you get that contract off your books. I don't know, but yeah, Deebo's had a huge letdown. And if he's going to be just a kick returner, then he needs to take a 26 or $24 million pay cut, because even if he's making $2 million, that'd be the most that any special teamer is making.